Today we're going to look at the Mingda Magician Max, which is not only alliterative, but it's also huge. Let's go. The Mingda Magician Max is a massive machine maxing out at a massive build plate size of 320 by 320 millimeters. That is over a foot. Over a foot. That makes it the biggest machine I've reviewed so far by a clear 20 millimeters. Slightly bigger than the Artillery Sidewinder X2 that's just sat next to it during the test, but should you buy it over the X2? I don't know. Let's have a look and see. Assembling this machine isn't something I really want to dwell on. It's pretty easy, although I didn't get a manual in mind, so I had to guess a bit. I will link below to the online manual, which it would have helped if I'd read beforehand. You may get one or you may not get one. I did ask Mingda, and the SD card does contain the manual, and I was told that future shipments will include a paper manual too. The only thing you need to know really is which screws to use where, and there's 2 in the sides of the upright section and 1 in the base of each side. There's a cable connector thingy to the back of the bed which you have to connect. This seems okay. It's screwed in, so it shouldn't come loose. The cables to the hot end, however, are not screwed in. This could be a concern long term, that they might come loose. Although during the 40 or so hours of test printing I've done, nothing actually came loose. I'd be inclined to put some hot melt glue on these, to be honest, especially if I did a lot of long prints, just for peace of mind. The last thing you want is one of these to fall out halfway through a 5-day print, or day 4.5. You get the idea. Anyway, overview of the printer. It's huge, I mentioned that, but also with self-leveling, so there's no wheels on the base at all. The bed is low voltage, and I believe it's running at 24 volts, and on screen now are my measured consumption values for all the relevant parts. These are all pretty good. The 300 watt bed takes a reasonably short time to heat up. It's not insulated underneath, but it does have some plastic under there, so I guess it might create a sort of microclimate. You get dual Z screws and a belt at the top to synchronise them. The bed also runs on 2 rails instead of 1. It all feels relatively secure and sturdy, as evidenced by the results I've been getting with no apparent wobble issues with levelling and calibration. You also have tensioners on the X and Y axes. I would advise you to watch my linked video to know how far to tension these belts. There is a handle on the top of the printer, but unless you're 9 foot tall, I can't see how you would actually use it, so that kind of amused me. The filament holder here has actually been properly designed for the printer too, which is a theme I have seen throughout. The holder just clicks in, as easy as that, and it can be mounted on the left or the right hand side. It works fine. The use of USB-C and full-size SD cards is something I very much approve of. USB sticks are also supported. But what we really want to know is what's going on with the hardware, right? The hot end doesn't really give much away from the outside. In fact, it doesn't really look special at all, but that is where you'd be wrong. Once you look inside, you'll see some actual innovation here. This is not your average off-the-shelf configuration. The extruder is a BMG type, which is... it's an okay extruder. It's not my favourite, but it's coupled directly to a kind of a shorter version of the V6 design. This is a new one to me. I've not seen this before. I've wondered for a while whether you could use shorter hot ends, as in shorter heat sinks, when you're using PTFE lining. That's a discussion for another day. Apparently you can. I've had no problems printing, so it seems to work. Also packed in here at the top is an almost invisible filament sensor, and also the star of the show, just next to it, the self-leveling system. Now I thought the bed leveling would be the same as other printers I've recently reviewed, that they use the nozzle to level and a strain gauge, but I was wrong. This thing is using a different method. It is not a strain gauge. I'm not going to totally give away how I think it's being done. I'm fairly sure I know. Here's some cool footage. Also, the leveling is fully automatic. You click the leveling button and it just does everything. The only thing you do appear to need to do is add a mystery offset at the end, which is presumably never going to change because it's leveling to the tip of the nozzle. So the advantage of doing that is that changing nozzles will not affect your mesh or your Z offset. And here's the obligatory test of that, which it passes with flying colours. This is one very accurate mesh. And you can see the bed mesh at work too by watching the Z screws while it's printing. This is not layer change, this is just Z movements for the mesh. Onto the internals of the base. I'm happy to say that apart from it taking me ages to get into the base because of the number of screws, this is because the base is plastic, you need more screws when you're using plastic, everything is in order here. In fact, it's more in order than I expected. We have actual grounding, and we also have ferrules, both of which are good to see, and it shows that Mingda are aware of the constant complaints that we make about tinned connections and grounding. The board is bespoke with an STM32ZET6 on it, which is a really catchy name. This apparently clocks in at 168 MHz and 512 meg of RAM, which is kind of average for an STM32, I think. It's not too shoddy. If anyone ever gets round to custom firmware for this printer, then that should be plenty enough for anything you want to do with it. I noticed this slot here as well, which is puzzling because it looks like it would fit an NRF24L01. Google it. I don't imagine that it's going to be supported, I just don't know why it's there. Wiring is all very neat inside here. I have no issues with this personally, so let's go on to printing. What's on the SD card as a test file is this thing. We'll just move on. I also advise that you largely ignore the slicer part of the manual, especially as Mingda have now provided profiles for this printer already in the latest version of Cura 5, so there's huge advantages in using that rather than the one provided on the SD card. You could just download Cura if you haven't already, add the printer and get going. The included profiles are absolutely fine, although I find Z-Hop annoying, so I turned that off. I don't quite know why a lot of printer profiles have Z-Hop on nowadays. I guess maybe people don't like the noise of the nozzle dragging across the print, which can be a thing. Otherwise, the profiles are well tuned and they gave good results. Bigger printer means big print, so I went straight in for this dinosaur skull. This is made out of bone colour filament. It's ESUN. Although to me, bone, I'm not so sure. I don't know if Murray mints are a thing outside the UK, but it just looks like that. This is printed, I think, at 150%, so it came out pretty huge. I could have gone bigger, but I didn't really want the long print time. The standard Cura base print speed is 60mm per second with 30 for walls, which is not slow for a bed slinger. And the quality, considering those speeds, is actually surprisingly high. This means that even with a 0.4 nozzle, you can potentially print big stuff like this in less time. Something I do like about this printer's firmware build is it actually beeps when it's done. Although I keep thinking there's an error and it's kind of a bit scary, but no, it just beeps when it's done. I did my usual calibration print and it came out just fine. I accidentally used some new glow-in-the-dark filament for this. I thought it was just green. I got the wrong reel. But there you go, or there you glow. This is actually pretty good, especially when you look at the ghosting or lack of. Considering the mass of the bed, that is quite impressive. I have had much worse ghosting from much smaller printers. We need to talk about bed adhesion next. I do not know what they've done to this bed, but things just don't come off. I mean, that is totally a double-edged sword, because during the test, literally nothing failed to stick to the bed. Everything stuck to the bed perfectly fine, which is great for a glass bed. But things are quite a task to get off. That's an understatement. When they're finished, even if you account for expansion and you print at 75C, this is usually how you handle glass. You print the first layer really hot so that it sticks, and then when it cools down, it will shrink and pop off the bed. But I imagine as the bed ages, this will settle down, but for the time being, I find that you have to give everything a really good smack to get it to come off, which generally does work. Worst case scenario, you might have to heat it up a bit, ram something underneath, wait for it to cool down, and then kind of, hit it. But yes, you will not have any issues with things not sticking to this bed. You oddly will have the opposite. Anyway, next up, I tried TPU. It's a direct drive printer, so you kind of expect a lot from TPU with this kind of setup. This is a new TPU I have from Everyone. There's a link below in the description. It is a rainbow TPU, which I only just learned is a thing. I don't think anybody knows that this is a thing yet. I printed this thing out, and it came out so well I had to print another one but bigger, and this looks really cool. I will share the TPU Cura profiles. If I forget to do that, please remind me in the comments. I didn't really have to change much from the defaults. My standard stringing test showed that I probably need to spend some more time tuning retraction, but it's acceptable anyway for real-world use. I think it can do better, though. Being a BMG-style extruder, I'm less confident of much softer TPU types. It should still print them to some extent. It will be better than the Bowden. So I'm not hugely concerned about TPU performance. I think you could probably go down to 70A fairly easily. What else? Marlin. It looks like it's running Marlin 2, but that is a guess. There's not a lot to go on here. I don't have access to the source, and I did raise this with Mingda, and I was told that that would come later. So I had to do some of the legwork myself here. This is something that I always absolutely have to check on a printer because you never know. This is how you manually do a thermal runaway test if you don't have access to the code. It did pass this, by the way. It is enabled, so that is good. I'm hoping to have the jerk and acceleration settings on screen, hopefully, which I should be able to snoop out through Octoprint. The interface, as in the touchscreen, is not too bad. I think the only thing I would have liked, but I couldn't find on the interface, for reasons unknown to me, is a disable stepper button. They normally have this when this... I don't really understand why it's not there. But one thing I really do approve of is the preheat menu. They've included a... Well, it's easier to show you. You see that in green when you go to preheat? It's like the base temperature is not 0, and that means that you don't have to press plus a million times. Two last prints I wanted to show you. The first one is this huge flexible gecko, and the second one is this marble tower, which is printed in Everyone Mini Rainbow. This looks really cool, and no, I haven't tested it yet, as I apparently don't have any steel bearings of the right size, and I haven't even printed the other bits, like the screw. I will get round to that, but it looks really cool, and it took about 20 hours to print, I think. So I think it's probably time to sum up. I struggled to find anything I didn't really like about the Magician Max. For a printer I admittedly wasn't really hugely overwhelmed with initially, it didn't really look that special. It actually hugely outperforms my expectations, and it seems to be built with some extra attention to detail than usual. I think there's going to be some getting used to the insanely high adhesion of the bed, and that, I suppose, would be my only complaint. And I have some concerns about the connectors, or rather the longevity of these things staying in. But otherwise, you are really not going to have much to complain about with this printer. It looks like it could turn out to be a workhorse. What do you think, though? Let me know in the comments as usual, and I will see you next time for, I think, a Prusa Slicer video, because if you've been paying attention, there's some huge news over in the Prusa Slicer corner. Anyway, thank you for watching.